And Formula One is back. We've got Singapore this weekend. Singapore is just another race. It's a 2-hour survival test for the drivers that struggles with high temperatures and high humidity. If you want to know more, stay here because we are going to break down how this track destroys cars and drivers. Hello, my name is Eloy. Welcome to RedLightsOff, a channel where we look at automotive and racing cars from an engineer's perspective. If you really like this topic, please subscribe because this will really help the channel to get better and better. Okay, so let's start with some of the characteristics of this circuit. First of all, longitudinal circuit. What does that mean? It means that there is a lot of accelerating and braking, not many lateral forces or high-speed corners. Therefore, the tire degradation won't come by tire stress, but by the heat generated with high track temperatures that we will have in this circuit. Another thing to consider will be the traction. Okay, same as Monaco or Baku, is a street circuit, so there is a lot of traction. What does that mean? It means that the tire degradation will come mostly on the rear tires. So the rear tires will be the ones to degrade faster than the front. There is not much degradation in the front tires. And again, it's a street circuit, so there will be a lot of track evolution, okay? During the weekend and during the qualifyings. When it comes to aerodynamics, very opposite to Baku. We have high downforce, similar to Monaco. Not so much because we still have some longer stress that we could have in Monaco, especially with the change of layout that happened a few years ago. But we will see high downforce, a lot of load in the front and the rear wings. When it comes to suspension, we want some balance in here. We don't want a very too stiff rear suspension because it will put more loads in the tire, more heat, more degradation. But also we don't want to go too stiff on the front because the car might slide. Obviously with ride height, it's a street circuit, so we want to avoid those bumps and curves, so the ride height will be slightly higher than in a usual track. Now let's talk about some peculiarities of this circuit. For example, the start. The start tends to be chaotic. We've seen it in previous year, and this is why it's difficult to get the tires on temperature. So it's really important for the drivers to get the tires on the right temperature during the formation lap. And normally we've seen more chaos on the midfields. The first corner, second and third that gets together is very narrow, okay? So usually drivers will tend to be cheeky. If they see they cannot get into the track, they will try to cut out, or we'll see some cars coming out and some crashes. So it's gonna be a very interesting start. Now let's talk about strategy. Baseline plan will be a one-stop, medium to hard tire. Now, there will be probably some soft starters or hard tires starters as we see in previous year. If you start on the soft, probably you will stop on the lap 10, 11 and you will go on the hard until the end, like for example Hamilton did last year. If you start on the hard, you can probably push until lap 45, something like that, then you put the medium and you are faster on the second stint. But usually you will go medium and then hard. That's probably what the most of the top 5 drivers will do. We saw some exceptions. For example, last year we have some like Piastri and Gasly. They were on mediums and they stretch a lot up to almost lap 40, and that indicates that the tire degradation is not huge. I think the main danger of this circuit about the tires is not the degradation itself, like I said, by tire stress, but by the heat. So you have to control those tire temperatures very well, and if you manage to do so, you can be a little bit outlier from the rest of the grid. Another important factor for strategy is the safety car. Since 2015, apart from last year, we have always safety car, 100% probability. So across the whole year, the circuit is in the calendar, the probability is very high. So this is gonna play an important role when it comes to the strategy. So guys, to wrap it up, Singapore is about managing heat in the tires and managing the heat that the drivers will struggle with because of the high temperatures and high humidity. It's a 2 hours race where anything could happen. We've seen safety cars, we've been drivers going for one stop. Some will probably gamble with starting with soft or hard, depending on if there was a safety car on the later stage of the race or at the beginning of the race. Definitely, Verstappen is fighting for the championship. McLaren wants to come back from the really bad weekend they had in Baku. We will see a very good race. See you next time.